You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 60. This week has been insanely busy. My day job was pretty much nonstop all day, putting out 2 episodes of the podcast plus bonus one in honor of the podcast's 1-year anniversary, and then so many more other random tasks. So this really made me focus on how to stay productive amongst the chaos and exhaustion, and I thought that this might be something you'd be interested in hearing about too. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Frigon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above the blocks holding you back and start living the life you are worthy and deserving of. Come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Happy Saturday morning. So amazing having you guys back with me for another Self Saturdays chat. So I'm just going to jump right into this with my schedule. As you guys know, my schedule is pretty crazy, but it's super important for me to stay productive so that I'm able to stay on top of all the things that I have to do during the time that I have allocated for it. So I have a scheduled time for when I work my day job. I have a scheduled time for when I work on the podcast, on projects, which could be blog posts or a freebie, when I answer emails, when I send out invitations, and so on. And most importantly, I have a scheduled time for when I work on my business, meaning, determining my goals, working on the foundation of the business, anything related to that. So to be productive, these are my tips that work for me, that might help you guys as well. So tip one, I always prepare for my day the night before. So I write down the main objectives I am trying to accomplish and what my focus is going to be on for the day. So for example, Sunday is my editing and podcast prepping day. So I will write down all of the episodes that I need to focus on, and then nothing else gets touched until all of the episodes I've written down are done. Then I have a plan B list of things that I need to get done so that if I do finish earlier than expected, I can just continue working and I don't have to sit there and kind of figure out what I'm going to do next. I always like to have everything pre-planned, so once I'm ready to jump in, I can just keep working. My second tip is that I turn off all notifications on my phone, I close my email, and I don't allow myself to go on the internet until all of my tasks are done. So I have a tendency to get really distracted with scrolling, so I need to be very cognizant of this. Emails don't need to be responded to the moment that they're received. This took me a while to learn, and I would stress myself out trying to stay on top of every email that arrived while I was working on my tasks. Now I'm actually okay waiting a day or 2 or even more if needed to respond. People don't always respond to me immediately, and I am completely okay with that. So I try to extend that same courtesy to myself and just give myself a little bit more grace with that. My emails are not my to-do list. I have a separate to-do list that I need to get done, and emails are not on that list. My third tip is I love batching my tasks. So I line up similar tasks and complete them all together. So for example, with my podcast, I have social media graphics that are the same social media graphic templates that I use for each podcast episode. So if I'm doing multiple editing or prepping that day, I will do all of my social media graphics all at the same time because I'm working on the same template, and I can just easily, quickly swap them out and just get them all finalized in one shot. I find that this kind of helps me get things done a lot quicker when I line similar activities up together and kind of batch work them. My fourth tip is I create templates for everything. Templates are your best friend. I can't stress this enough. So I always review my processes, and yes, I have processes for everything, but I review them in detail and I determine if I am doing anything more than once. So any emails that I am using more than once, I create a template for. Any recurring projects that I do the same tasks every time I do this project, I create a template that has that list that I need to get done for that project so that I don't have to recreate that to-do list every time. That list is already there, ready for me. So for example, editing and prepping a podcast episode for me has the same steps really each time. So I created a templated to-do list so that it helps me reduce the amount of time that I'm prepping for my days the night before, because that to-do list is already done for me. I just need to write down which episodes I actually need to edit, and then I can just bust out that to-do list the next day. So anything that has reoccurring themes, I always try to create a template for it so that I am taking all of that guesswork out. That's not needed. Duplicate work, I don't like duplicate work. I like to do it once and be done with it. The fifth tip that I have for you guys is set the tone in your environment. So I always put binaural beats on when I need to focus on important tasks. But if I'm not feeling too good or sharp really mentally, like something's just not feeling right, I try to keep my space quiet so I'm able to really focus. I find that if I'm just not in the right frame of mind, any kind of noise will distract me. If I'm doing reoccurring tasks that don't require any mental energy, like when I'm doing my social media graphics for the podcast episodes, I'm going to allow myself to have music or a podcast playing, or I'll put on a favorite Netflix show. I'm not going to lie, and I'll have that going on in the background because I'm not using any mental energy. So I can just kind of work through the task kind of brainlessly, if that's a word, and just have that time to enjoy whatever I'm listening to. I also like the change up based on the type of task that I'm doing. I want to keep work fun. I don't want it to feel like I'm having to just sit here and just like be quiet all the time. I like to have that change. Also, I open the window for fresh air. So even if it's cold outside, I like to have a little bit of fresh air in the room. I diffuse an essential oil based on how I am wanting to feel. So if I'm currently feeling stressed out and I want to feel more relaxed, I'll put on essential oil to help me feel more relaxed. If I'm super tired and I just need something to kind of uplift me, I'll put on an essential oil that helps me with that. Do I need to feel creative and happy? Whatever mood that I am striving for, I will try to match up an essential oil for that as well. My sixth tip is, depending on the day, I organize my task by doing all the hard tasks first. So I feel so much more accomplished when I'm getting the hard stuff done, that it sets the tone for the rest of the day, and I feel supercharged to keep going, and the rest of the day is just like a breeze, really. So I always try to get those hard ones done, because if I don't, then I'm always in the back of my mind. I know they're coming up. I'm dreading them. It's kind of eating up all of my energy that I'm trying to put into the work that I'm currently doing, that it's not productive for me, really. I don't enjoy that. It's not a great feeling for me either. So I always try to get the hard stuff done first, and then I move on to the easy. My seventh tip, and this is a really important one that I learned quite the hard way for many, many years, is to let go of perfection. So to be okay with things being good enough, that saved me so much time. I used to sit there and I would tweak things over and over and over again. I would get so frustrated with myself that they weren't, quite perfect. It didn't look exactly or sound exactly the way that, I imagined in my head, but little did I know, nothing is ever truly perfect. And good enough is more than good enough. So I strive to just get it done. It looks good, move on. Because the more I waste on it, the less stuff I'm actually going to accomplish if I'm just constantly focused on trying to get it perfect. My eighth tip is to figure out when you're more productive. So are you more productive in the morning? Are you more productive in the evening, in the afternoon? When is that chunk of time that you are just really on it? And then try to arrange your work around that time period. So for me, I am most productive in the early morning, but I need a break in the afternoon. Otherwise, I just slug my way through things at a very slow pace and really just don't have time for that. I am also really productive from 6 to 9 in the evenings as well. So I plan my weekday blog and podcast tasks for during that time. And if I'm really just not mentally feeling it, I don't push it. I take some time off. I'll take the full day if I need it. I'll take the evening off if I need it. Or I'll take a nap to reset, depending on how I'm feeling. I also, try to get outside to get some fresh air, do a little bit of movement if it's like stretching or like a 5-minute class or anything like that just kind of gets your blood flowing and stuff. I feel like that's so helpful as well when you're trying to get back into that right mindset. My 9th tip is I take time to get into the right mindset before I start. So I used to always just jump right in, whether it was my day job or whether it was, the side business and whatnot. I would jump right in and I would kind of just robo style start to work. It wasn't exciting. I wasn't giving my work the right energy. So now I sit and I focus on the business or my work before I start. So why do I love it? Has something happened recently that is just super exciting and kind of just gets me all pumped up? What gets me pumped up about this work that I'm doing, about this job or about this business? Why do I love it so much? This kind of exercise kind of gets me feeling super grateful and it gets me in the right headspace and energy to start my work. And then I feel like I get so much more good out of it than when I just kind of jump right in without doing this exercise. Lastly, this is a big one. Stop. Put a hard stop on multitasking. I used to think multitasking was like the best thing you could be, as great as it used to be to scream it from the rooftops when you were insanely talented multitasker. It's not efficient and it is not good for your mental and emotional state. I would find myself switching from one thing to another, not completing either fully. I would answer messages while I was answering emails and still working on the task. It was such a nightmare. I felt myself getting so frustrated, resentful, stressed, flustered, confused. My brain would be so scattered because I was working on so many different things at once. It was not helping me be the best me for myself or for anyone really. Now this isn't something that just kind of changes overnight. It definitely takes some adjusting to when you're just so used to wanting to multitask all the time. But now I'm trying to focus on one task at a time. And if someone needs me while I'm working on that task, if it's not absolutely critical, then I just politely let them know that, I'm working on something right now. I'll be done in, X period of time. Can I come back to you after that? Usually they're pretty good with that. They don't expect me to just jump in all the time. So that's really been helpful for me to stay accurate in the work that I'm trying to get done and to actually get tasks done. Because I found before that I would not get things fully completed while jumping onto other things. So these are my tips that are working for me. I hope that they help you guys as well. I would love to hear if you benefit from any of the tips that I've shared today. Are they new to you? Are you going to use them? So I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love for you to reach out and let me know. So if you want to connect with me, head on over to Instagram. My handle is @ProjectLoveCo, and then send me a DM. I love hearing from you guys. You can also connect with me through my website, www.projectloveco.com, and you can sign up for my love letters there as well. You can send me an email. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I hope you guys take some time to invest in yourselves today. I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.